Hello everybody, welcome to Nostalgia Goggles. I'm Cass, also known as Gaming Nerd. And so I made a promise that I want to review every game in my collection. And I promised you that I feel like by the end of my show, or midway, we'll see, or even at the beginning, I might regret that decision. So I wanted to go into one of those different places with this one, right? I wanted to go into a game that I know is bad, right? I wanted to go into Anubis 2 for the Wii, right? This is a game that I know is infamously bad, but if you don't know it by this name, you either know it by Ninjabread Man or Trixie in Toyland. And today, I'm going to review all of these to see if they're as bad as everyone says they are, or if they're actually worth playing today. Let's get into it. So, when it gets right down to it, there's like clearly a story in these games, but like the game doesn't outright tell you them, and I could not find them on the internet. So instead, I'll tell you how the hell we got here instead, because I think that that's funnier. What happened is, as I've said before in this episode, and you'll see in the future, I don't stop talking about it, this initially was supposed to be the third entry in the Zool series, but the creators of Zool said no, rightfully so if you look at these games, and that's pretty much it. That's kind of the deal with Ninjabread Man. You can look at Ninjabread Man and kind of tell, to what I know about Zool, I haven't touched it, as I will say in this video, but that's really the deal with this one, is that it was supposed to be another game that somehow they thought would become a franchise in and of itself. It technically has, but there was another one, which is Trixie in Toyland, which is also Mythmakers, which kind of had its own spin-off as well, that I don't think went anywhere either. It had a kart racer, and I think that's about it. They really tried to make this something. And that's all I really have to say about this. That's the story. Goodbye. See you in the gameplay. Normally I like to kind of try to play into that, oh, is this game really that bad trope? But when it gets right down to this one, it's more or less of figuring out what makes this game bad, right? Like, there are so many things about this game, well, games, I should say, that kind of make it into a weird place. Like, if I did these one by one, I could probably explain them better, but I don't want to do that because the games are so similar, and that might be one of the reasons why they're bad. They're similar, but they're just not good altogether. The most competent one in reality is Trixie in Toyland, followed by Roll Adventures. Anubis and Ninjabread Man are just dead on the water, and I don't understand how that really works, because they're all based in the same existing game, right? The main idea of the game is you collect a certain amount of items to unlock a portal, and you kind of fight your way through these, and I don't understand how you can have the exact same gameplay but have two games be slightly more competent. And when I say competent, I'm stretching, because in reality I can't say they are, because one of the weirdest things about this game is how unresponsive it is to the motion controls. The game wants you to swing for an attack, which once again Trixie and Toyland and Roll Adventures are better at that. They're still dog shit, but they're better nonetheless, right? Where Ninjabread Man and Anubis don't, and I don't understand how that works. The game wants you to jump by swinging up the nunchuck. You could also just press the Z button, and most likely you're going to want to press the Z button, and even then, the jump itself kind of sucks. The way that you jump, it kind of can be hindered by being too close to a wall, and what I mean by that is your character kind of gravitates or sticks to the wall, and it just doesn't make jumping feel good. It feels rough in general, because if you slightly twitch the nunchuck too much, you're gonna jump. So like, there's so many things that this game does in a weird way that doesn't feel right, but I think the biggest catch of all of it is that the game's fucking boring, right? Like, the game's just stupidly boring. There is almost no reason for you to want to play this. Every time I have played Trixie in Toyland or Anubis, I've been sitting there kind of asking the question of, why am I doing this? Because the gameplay itself is bad, and the level design is big in some of these, or it's just not fun. And so with it not being fun, it makes you have to ask the question of what the fuck am I doing, right? And that kind of sucks. I've wasted a lot of time in these games, and I feel like I just wasted my time, right? I feel like I want to argue for these games. I want to be like, well, if this was the only game you had for the Wii, you would probably never play video games again, if I'm gonna be honest, because of just how poorly these play. I don't understand where these came from. I understand that Ninjabread Man originally was supposed to be Zool or something. Thank God it wasn't. Zool is a super retro game. I have never touched Zool. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is, but it's one of those. But if you like Zool, there's nothing against it. I've just never touched it. It's like Ace the Acrobat, or like, you know, it's one of those mascot platformers. But I could definitely see why they rejected it, because just look at this. That goes more to presentation. But all in all, I feel like these games really just give you nothing. The most I can say is that there is a minor amount of variety in level design, but do you really want that? Do you really want that? Especially since some of these games are just a waste of money. 3 levels in Ninjabread Man and Roll Adventures is terrible, especially for the price that games were back in the day. Do I know how much these games were back in the day? No. These games are worth $10 today. We'll talk more about that in accessibility, but I feel like realistically these games were just never really worth their money, and I don't get why this is. So and with that being said, I feel like it's better to have 3 dogshit levels than having 9 dogshit levels, which is the case for Trixie and Toyland and Anubis II. So I don't know if I explained the gameplay very well here, but all I can say is that it sucks and it's rough to get through. But, you know, maybe the presentation salvages this game, right? Maybe that's what is worth playing. And the answer is no. No, the presentation won't save these. These games feel very, like, uninspired in a weird way. I feel like all of them feel like something you would expect. Trixie and Toyland is a giant, generic toy box. Roll Adventures feels like a fucking weird-ass hodgepodge of, like, musical references, and not like musical references, like musical tech references, and it's just a weird, it's like, I don't even know how to fucking explain it. You're looking at it. Ninjabread Man is the candy equivalent of Trixie and Toyland, and Anubis II is argumentatively the worst because it's just a fucking desert. So I feel like the thing about this is that these games just copy and paste almost everything from the enemy design to, you know, just everything else. And I just can't really differentiate the games. I mean, they definitely look different, but there's a point where you just kind of aren't paying the most attention to it, and the music is also very basic too. This game is just super basic, and I kind of hate that, especially coming back from this, playing them back to back to back. I feel like I've gained nothing, especially since the enemies all have the same place. There's an enemy that shoots, there's an enemy that walks, there's a bitch that flies, that is your worst enemy, period, because sometimes they shoot at you, like in Trixie and Toyland. Fuck that plane. But at the end of the day, right, like they're really just the same game presentation-wise. Like, yes, the level design is different, which makes sense because, as I said before, one game has 3 levels, the other ones have 9. So of course the levels are going to be a little bit different, and I think that that's the most impressive part of this. If you manage to like these games, good on you, and I feel like this is a treat for you to have vastly different gameplay experiences when it comes to the design itself. But I feel like I don't think that really matters. I'm coming down to the question, and you might be able to answer this if you're listening at this point. This isn't really a presentation question, this is a question that I have to ask in general. What do you prefer, right? Honestly, would you be upset if you bought this game and there's only 3 levels of bad levels? Or would you be fine with the 9 levels of dog shit and just accept that, like, you're not gonna see all 9 levels? Where do you stand on this one? And I know that you're going, well, what does that have to do with presentation? Well, it kind of does, because the fact of the matter is that you're going to have to be sitting and looking at these levels, dealing and exploring and understanding the level design itself. And so it comes down to that question of, like, what's better, right? Because I honestly have no clue. As a kid, I think I'd be better with just 3 bad levels, because at least I can play them over and over again and get to learn them, maybe. But, like, I just feel like the biggest issue with that's a whole different thing. That's not really presentation. Answer in the comments if you can. But I feel like all in all, the biggest difference between these games is the characters, and even then, they're not appealing, right? I think Anubis to me and Ninjabread Man are the most appealing because Anubis is, well, he looks like Anubis, and Ninjabread Man is a gingerbread man. Like, come on, that's the best. I feel like the other two, Elvis and Trixie, are kind of embarrassing. I feel embarrassed that I even played Trixie in Toyland. It feels like one of those games that's like, who is this for, right? Who is this one for? Because I feel like the demographic that this game is for would not play this game. It looks like it's for babies, and I don't think babies have the ability to play this game, and I don't think older kids would give a shit. I feel like a lot of older kids would be very embarrassed to own these two games. At least Ninjabread Man and Anubis look kind of cool, where Trixie's derpy as hell and also just very immature, and Elvis is, well, it's Elvis. I'm not going to bat for Elvis. I'm never going to bat for Elvis. Fight me. I get it. I don't even think they had the balls to go to the Elvis estate, because, like, you know damn well what the answer would be or how expensive it would be. Anyways, I feel like the presentation of this game is just not good. I feel like it's okay, right? But you know what? No, it's not. It's not even okay. One of the biggest issues I have with this game is also, like, I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a lot of just dead air because the game's sizing is off, and that might just be because this game initially was on the PS2. Maybe. Nope, that doesn't make sense. I'm just talking dog shit, because even then, like, PS2 games fill the screen, so I have no clue why they went with the way they did. This game looks bad. Moving on to accessibility. So when it gets right down to accessibility, do you really care? Like, do you really care? If you do, Ninjabread Man will set you back $6 to $12. You can get this game sealed for $25. Don't do that. Don't even pay. You know what? Don't do that. Don't pay for any of these. I'm just gonna be honest with you. If you have the chance to play these, don't pay a goddamn dime for these. Anyways, moving on. Rock and Roll Adventures will set you back $5 to $11. Anubis 2 will set you back $7 to $14. And Trixie and Toyland will set you back $9 to $20. The unfortunate thing about this episode is I paid for all of these games. Now, if you're wondering, this whole video started with Anubis 2. I believe I'll say this in the intro, but I feel like I've wasted money. I feel like I've wasted money, and I feel like if you're gonna be honest with you, definitely do not buy any of these games unless you're that curious. There's never like a reason for you to be that curious. I feel like you can look at it and tell exactly what you're gonna get. But if you're that curious, I think if I had to recommend the two games for you, it would definitely have to be Rock and Roll Adventures and Trixie and Toyland. As I said in the gameplay, they're the most responsive to the controls, but also they're the most embarrassing when it gets right down to it to play. So I just don't think you should. Just don't buy these games. Just do me that favor. Go watch a playthrough. You'll get the same vibe. You'll get the same vibe, I promise. Look, I'm trying. I like how they're not expensive. Shit, man. This is very hard. I'm really trying to give you a good, because I don't like leaving these off with like nothing. Like with the bad, at least I can say nothing, but like I think, okay, fine, you know what, let me give you a good right now. When it gets right down to it, I think one of the best things about this game is when it comes to games like Rock and Roll Adventures and Ninjabread Man, you only have to play them for about an hour, because they only have 3 levels. And I know I asked the question, what's worse, having more levels or not, but in reality, I think that like if I had the games and I learned that Trixie and Toyland existed and Anubis existed, and I had to suffer for worse controls and longer games, I think I'd much rather have preferred the 3 levels. I think that Ninjabread Man's design is cute. I like the idea of the game of Ninjabread Man. I like some of the gameplay concepts of this game, such as if you get more hearts and you fill them all up, you eventually get an extra life. That's really cool. Too bad like the game sucks ass. I like the idea of all of these games. I just feel like they were poorly executed. I feel like this game itself was just poorly executed. I feel like I want to say something positive, but I just can't. So with that being said, let's move on to the bads. Where do I even start? Well, the fact that there's inconsistent levels between the games, the fact that each game is the goddamn same game, the fact that the character designs are mostly just embarrassing messes, the fact that the games are 90% non-responsive, the fact that the games are all the same except for one where they have a pushing mechanic. I don't know if I've mentioned that in the gameplay, but in Rock and Roll Adventures you have a block pushing mechanic, and it works well, but like, that's it. All the rest of the games are carbon copies. The games feel like they are either too big for what they're trying to do level-wise. I don't like the fact that you have to level up your blast for it to be effective. I don't like the fact that the enemies suck ass. I don't like the fact that the enemies can take damage off of you pretty easily, especially since in Trixie and Toyland there's a plane that can be the bane of your existence. I don't like the fact that you really don't have to deal with the enemies. You can just go around them. Oh, well, you should like that, right? Yeah, but like, if you're going to add combat in your game, make it fun. I don't like how you can inconsistently dispatch enemies. In some games you can jump on them, in others you just can't, and I don't understand why. I don't understand the level design whatsoever. I don't understand the aesthetic, especially of Rock and Roll Adventures. I don't understand what the hell Rock and Roll Adventures was. I feel like you guys just went out of your way for that one. All the other ones kind of make sense. This one is a what the fuck happened? Please explain. Why did you guys do this one? Who, like why? I don't feel like I'm attacking that one the hardest, but like, that one's the one where like, I even forget about it 90% of the time. If it wasn't for this video, I wouldn't even know it existed. Holy crap. I hate the idea that they thought that this was going to be successful enough that the Mythmaker's name became something. They made a go-karting game with it, and to my knowledge, and you can correct me, I don't care, correct me all you want, I don't care, it's not gonna fix what I say, but despite the fact that they made a Mythmaker's game, none of these characters appear. Like, what the fuck was that? You should have put Ninjabread Man and the other ones in. Watch me be wrong, watch me also not care. The fact that we got 4 of these bitches, you could have just released 2. You could have just released 2. I don't even know how well these sold. I don't even know why. The fact that there is improvement in these games, and it's weird that there's improvement, because the improvement goes from, you know, Anubis upwards, right? Or I should say Ninjabread Man upwards. I guess I don't remember the release orders, and that's the crazy thing. All I know is it just perplexes me that Trixie and Rock and Roll Adventures is the better game when they all have the same damn mechanics. I feel like the worst thing about this game is the fact that my dumbass decided to say, hey, let's review every game you own. And I decided to do Anubis, and then I had to buy these for my collection. Just to see if any of them are better, or if it's as bad as you think. And with that being said, I'm about to answer that question in the final thoughts. So, I can't spin these. Is Ninjabread Man, Rock and Roll Adventures, Trixie and Toyland, and Anubis 2 worth playing today? No, obviously not. Like, I don't think they're the worst games ever made, but like, not really worth it, no duh. You probably knew about this. You've probably, if you've seen this, right, you've probably watched Game Grumps. You saw the gameplay firsthand. I feel like this episode is kind of pointless to a degree, right? Because at the end of the day, no matter what I say, it really doesn't matter. No, these games do not hold up. No, they are not worth your time. No, but you knew that. You probably already knew that, right? And if you didn't, you're better off for not. So with that being said, no, these games are not worth your time. They do not hold up, and they're not the worst thing ever, but boy, are they a waste of time. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time here on Nostalgia Goggles. Bye!